All right, today we are diving deep into one of the biggest, most fascinating corporate turnarounds in recent history. AT&T's epic decision to stop being a media giant and go all in on its roots, connectivity. Seriously, it's a masterclass of a business case study, all about ambition, identity, and the cold, hard realities of the market. Let's get right into it.
You know, everything we're about to talk about really boils down to this one simple but brutal question. Can a single company actually fight and win two completely different, incredibly expensive wars at the exact same time? For AT&T, this wasn't some theoretical question in a classroom. It was a high-stakes, real-world dilemma that shaped almost a decade of their strategy.
So let's set the stage. What we had here was AT&T locked in what you can only describe as a brutal two-front war, a battle that was going to stretch its money, its people, and its very identity to the absolute breaking point.
Okay, so picture this. On one front, you've got the insane streaming wars. We're talking Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime, literal giants with basically bottomless wallets, all duking it out for the next hit show in your monthly subscription. Then on the other front, you have this mission-critical, capital-guzzling quest to build the future, a nationwide 5G and fiber network. And AT&T wasn't just trying to compete in both these arenas, they were trying to dominate both. And that, right there, was the massive problem.
So how did they even get here? Let's unpack the thinking behind their huge media gamble. I mean, why would a phone company suddenly decide it needs to own Hollywood? Well, the whole strategy was driven by a classic business school idea.
And that idea is called vertical integration. It's a fancy term, but the concept is pretty simple. You can create more value and have more control if you own everything from start to finish. For AT&T, this meant, hey, what if we own the studio that makes the blockbuster movie and the network that delivers that movie right to your phone?
This analogy just nails the vision perfectly. AT&T wanted to own the pipes. That's all their fiber and 5G infrastructure, and also the water that flows through them, which is all the amazing content from WarnerMedia. I mean, on paper, it's a really compelling idea, right? A totally seamless entertainment universe, all under one roof.
But, and this is a huge but, here's where that beautiful vision slammed right into a hard financial wall. See, to compete in streaming, you have to spend billions and billions on new shows and movies just to keep people from canceling. At the exact same time, building out a world-class 5G network also costs tens of billions. The money needed for these two worlds wasn't just big, it was fundamentally incompatible. One is about taking high-risk, creative swings. The other is about steady, long-term infrastructure investment. You just can't feed both of those beasts from the same checkbook.
And that inevitable conflict is what forced what we're calling the Great Reversal. This was the moment of truth where AT&T had to face reality and make a really decisive and, I'm sure, very painful pivot away from its media dream.
And man, when they decided to pull the plug, they did it fast. Just look at this timeline. In 2021, boom, they spin off WarnerMedia. We're talking HBO, Warner Bros., all of it, in a massive $43 billion deal. Then they immediately start selling off DirecTV piece by piece. Just like that, the great media experiment was officially over.
This chart really just says it all. It shows the complete 180-degree turn the company made. They went from trying to be this sprawling, diversified content and pipes behemoth to being a laser-focused, pure-play telecom leader. The goal wasn't synergy anymore. It was stability. It was no longer about controlling everything, but about being the absolute best at just one thing: the network.
So, what does this new, slimmed-down, connectivity-first AT&T actually look like? Well, let's follow the money and see what happens when you ditch a media empire and get back to basics.
First things first, you have to understand the immense pressure they were under. This number right here, this is why the reversal had to happen. A mountain of debt, totaling over $136 billion. Let that sink in. That kind of number is a pretty powerful motivator to simplify your life. So, by shedding all those media assets and getting focused, the company found huge efficiencies. By 2024, they'd managed to unlock over $6 billion in cost savings. And that's money they could immediately use to start paying down that debt, and crucially, reinvest in the main business.
And reinvest is exactly what they did. This chart shows precisely where all of that capital went. Instead of funding Hollywood blockbusters, it's now funding physical infrastructure. We're talking an incredible $22 to $24 billion a year poured directly into their 5G and fiber networks. And that investment is paying off, helping them expand their fiber footprint to 36 million locations and counting.
And this is where their new, more grounded strategy really starts to click. By focusing on both home fiber and wireless, they can bundle them together. You see it right here. 42% of their fiber customers are also AT&T wireless customers. And that is a huge deal because customers who bundle their services are way less likely to leave. It reduces what the industry calls churn, and it creates a much more stable, predictable business model. And the financials seem to be telling that same story of newfound stability. Looking at the fiscal year 2025 numbers, you see exactly what you'd expect. Steady revenue growth, healthy income, and over $12 billion paid back to shareholders through dividends. This is the new AT&T. They're signaling a return to their old identity as a reliable, almost utility-like company. The game is no longer about explosive growth, it's about dependable returns.
Okay, so we've seen the massive gamble, the great reversal, and the results of that pivot. But what's the final verdict here? This brings us to the core trade-off at the very heart of this whole saga.
At the end of the day, this wasn't just about cleaning up the balance sheet. It was a fundamental choice about the company's soul. AT&T walked away from this incredibly bold, if maybe flawed, vision of creating a dynamic, futuristic media ecosystem. And in its place, they chose something much safer, much more predictable, something that looks a whole lot like a classic utility company.
And that leaves us with the million-dollar question, or in this case, the billion-dollar question that I really want to turn over to you. Was this retreat from media the absolute right call, a necessary, tough decision to stabilize a sinking ship and ensure its long-term survival? Or, in trying to secure its present, did AT&T trade away its only real shot at a high-growth future for the safety of a slow and steady, low-growth ceiling? The debate on that one is still very, very much alive.